Joining us now is Victor Davis Hanson from the Hoover Institution, of course, phenomenal columnist, writer, historian, military historian, joins us now. Victor, in thinking back on this flashpoint moment with Jim Acosta when he was rudely interacting with the president, saying, that's not an invasion. And meanwhile, Tijuana is saying, we do not want you here. It is tantamount to an invasion. That's what they feel.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when people at the focus of illegal immigration, that's what Tijuana is. It's a transit point for Mexican nationals to get in illegally in the United States, one of many. But when they say what I mean, we don't want this we don't want something to happen to us that we cause other people. That shows you that it's getting to a crisis point. You know what I mean? When the people who are catalysts for illegal immigration said we don't like illegal immigration turned toward us, you can see that that's where reality triumphs over rhetoric.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like this is going to work out, I think, as a lot of these NGOs thought it was going to work out. But I have it on good authority that actually Mexico is taking a very tough line on this. And the pace of entry into the United States, because of the sheer backlog of people we're considering at this point, is extremely slow. And Mexico is not going to allow them to have permanent encampments at the border. So I have it on very good authority that people are going to start being deported back to their home countries from that San Ysidro entry point, Tijuana, and other points in Texas. That's the authority I have, and I think that's going to be welcomed.
I think so too. And I live in a city that has thousands in the surrounding area of people from Oaxaca, and they're very worried because the Mexican government is sort of discouraging people from going into the more wealthy areas of the north of Mexico and suggesting if they want refugee status, they go to Oaxaca, which about 1 out of every 2 males has left to come to the United States, and they're labor short. And so Mexico is kind of replaying the role that some California and U.S. corporations play. And so that's another thing that people are really worried about in Mexico. They're changing the demography of Oaxaca if all these people from Central America come into these small towns that have been denuded of their males who have come to the United States. So the subtext of the whole thing, Laura, is that there's something about free market capitalism, constitutional freedom that attracts people so much so they would give up commonalities of language and culture. So Central Americans don't really want to stay in a country that has the same language and similar culture. They want to come to something entirely antithetical. And then you juxtapose that with the rhetoric of the left that we're racist, nativist, protectionist, da-da-da, and the whole thing becomes absurd.
No, and I think that this is where we must demonstrate to the country that we are going to completely protect our sovereignty, and this lame duck Congress has got to fund this wall and move on these asylum loopholes. It has to happen. And I don't have any faith in Paul Ryan to push anything through. It looks like they're not going to do much.
No, I don't think they will. And again, when your earlier comment that people are never subject to the consequences of their own ideology is, this summer when it happened, I wrote a column saying that Stanford and USC and all these big universities had empty dorms. They had law schools, they had medical schools, they had all the infrastructure to house temporarily people. And I got so many hate letters from university people. But they had summer interns there. They've been an ideal place to offer transit sanctuary in a sanctuary state, but nobody took that offer up. And it's part of this larger disconnect, empire of lies. I'm sitting out looking in my farm window, and I can't see more than a mile because of the smoke. We have 140 million trees that died over the last 4 years. And when we hike in the Sierra, and I do it all summer, all you see is brush. You can't walk on the trails, and they're not allowed to take out the trees. And then we're told that the cause of this fire is global warming. But everybody privately knows it's because there is no timber industry and there's no cleaning of the forest. Just like everybody privately knows that you can't have thousands of people swarm the border and break the law and destroy the whole protocol of immigration, but they don't want to say that.
We're talking to Victor Davis Hanson here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Victor, the president is set to have these big meetings with Xi coming up in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And you hear the usual drumbeat from Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, all these big banks that love to get the benefits of the China IPO, buying companies, buying real estate, commercial development in the United States and other countries because they do a lot of these deals, the M&A work, et cetera. They're saying, oh, no, you got to do something. You've got to do something. The president has got to strike a deal with Xi. But isn't this where the rubber meets the road here? This is precisely when President Trump has to hold firm.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Same thing with the North Korean deal. Has to hold firm on the sanctions, and I think he will. And the whole China, you talk to these CEOs, even people in Silicon Valley who are getting fabulously wealthy off China and the imbalance in trade. You talk to them, and they all say privately, we had got to a point of no return. Either we push back on the Spratly Islands, we push back on Chinese aggression, cyber attacks, and especially these nearly $400 billion trade surplus that they're running up at our expense, and the account surplus, second in the world. And so what else can you do, Laura, if you just say, China, stop it, or you don't have any other tools but a tariff? And so I think what Trump is trying to do is, as a first step, saying, you know what, we're not going to try to end your surpluses entirely. Let's just half them, cut them down to $200 billion. We'll work from there. But he has no leverage unless he has a tariff. And of course, some people are getting fabulously wealthy off China, and some people are getting pretty poor off of what's going on. And we know who they are. Mm-hmm. The elite want more money than the people out of a job in Bakersfield or Flint, Michigan. They're not too sympathetic to Wall Street cries of anguish.
Another issue I want to get to is that finally it looks like we have most of the races decided, although not all of them. Democrats pick up at least 37 House seats, 336 state legislature seats, 7 governorships, and not as good as we thought it was on Election Day. What does this mean going forward for the GOP, given how the left is continuing to racialize politics? You saw Stacey Abrams refuse to really concede the race or call Kemp a legitimate governor.
Yeah, I think they really have been caught napping. I mean, they really have to look at these not election day ballots, these absentee ballots, because here where I am, we had the Denham race was lost. He won on Election Day. Orange County, it's gone all blue after the Election Day count was over with. So whatever the reason is, and there's a lot of reasons, they need to address it. They need to get the vote out. They need to have an organized absentee. They need to crack down on eligibility. And then I think Trump's he's got a great message. He's got minority unemployment to record lows. That's giving leverage to people in the inner city, to Mexican-American people. When he clamps down the border, there's less competition for jobs. And I think at some point he's got to go into very carefully, he's got to go into inner city situations and landscapes and say, you know what, we've had our rhetorical fights, but I wanted to empower you, and I think I have. And you're better off economically, and you're going to be a lot better off if you let me finish the job. And I think that he doesn't need 50%, 40% of the African-American vote. He needs 20%, 25%. Same thing with Latino, instead of 30, 40%. And I think they need to do that because he's wasting that message. It's a really good message to minority youth and minority communities, and yet he's allowing these very wealthy people who, on every one of these issues, they don't follow through on their rhetoric, and he's letting them demagogue the issue when he's actually doing the hard work of improving the lives of everyday people who are so-called non-white.
Yeah, and I think when you hear the articles and the talk of white supremacy, A.C. Thompson is this PBS correspondent, Victor, who was on your favorite show this morning, Morning Joe, and we have an interesting Q&A. Let's listen.
Are we seeing an uptick in membership of white supremacist groups, neo-Nazi groups, or is it just that they feel the political environment is more inviting for them?
What if I told you it was both? 2015, 2016, we started seeing a massive uptick in activism in this area, new groups, new publications, and I think a lot of those people were emboldened by a political moment.
So, in other words, Donald Trump is inciting, encouraging white supremacists. And then we had other hosts over the weekend, like Kirsten Powers, saying that anyone who supports Trump themselves is racist because he's racist.
Well, you can see the political strategy. They want to make the Trump brand so toxic that independents and moderate Republicans don't want to associate with it. But I mean, nobody said during the Obama administration when Black Lives marched and said pigs in a blanket and all that death rhetoric about police that Obama, because of his indiscreet talks about race, he said a lot of crazy things and had encouraged that. So another thing that really bothers me, I think it bothers all of us, is that you have these very wealthy white people who do have privilege, and one of the ways they square that circle of their own guilt and the fact that they've done pretty well in the system is they blame white supremacy on lower class whites who don't have any privilege. And they say, oh, white supremacy, and you're doing this and you're doing that in the Midwest, the rural red states. And it's a very strange thing where if you really believed that you need, proportional representation or disparate impact, a lot of these very powerful white males should resign and say, you know what? I have white privilege, and I think I've been on Joe's show a pretty long time, and I think we need a person of color to take my place. I can retire. They never do that. It's always at somebody else's expense that has less money, less influence, less power, and it's a psychological mechanism, I think, to square the circle of their own contradictions and guilt.
Yeah, I mean, to hear people talk also about this Beto O'Rourke, and you and I chatted about this before, but Politico has a piece, he's Barack Obama but white. Beto O'Rourke blows up the 2020 Democratic primary. First of all, send me a memo when you stop using the phrase blows up. I'm so tired of that. It's like goes viral, blows up. But so now he's the white Obama, Victor.
Yeah, well, he constructed it. He was like Elizabeth Warren or Ward Churchill. And the irony was that they were blaming white women for voting 55% for a Latino, and they didn't say anything about 95% of black women who voted for a white male. And then it was even weirder that Ted Cruz's name is Raphael, his real name, and he was running as Ted, and this guy's name was Patrick, I think, and he was running as Beto. So the real Latino was trying to assimilate, and the fake Latino was trying to cash in an identity politics.
Oh my God, that's hilarious! But I mean, I just call him Robert Francis,
or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Robert Francis O'Rourke. Sorry, Obama but white. That's the best thing I've heard all day. He's Obama but white, so definitely he'll be the 2020 nominee. I think it's all hat and no cattle. All right, Victor Davis Hanson, thank you so much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, VDH. Love having you on TV and radio.